on transportation. Thank you all for being here today. If the usual reminder that you get, please silence your cell phones if you don't mind. Put them on silent or stunned. And all meeting materials today are available on the committee webpage. So if you'd like to follow along, please look there. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Senator Chambers Armstrong. Senator Berg. Senator Carpenter. Senator Douglas.
Present.
Senator Elkins.
Present.
Senator Smith. Senator Storm. Here. Senator Wheeler. Senator Williams. Here. Senator Wilson.
Here.
Representative Bivens. Here. Representative Branscombe.
Here.
Representative Bridges. Representative Donworth.
Present.
Representative Dossett. Representative Elliott. Representative Hale. Present. Representative Heverin.
Present.
Representative Hodgson. Here. Representative Huff.
Here.
Representative Imes. Representative Lehman.
Here.
Representative Lewis.
Here.
Representative McCool.
Here.
Representative Neighbors.
Here.
Representative Rourke.
Here.
Representative Smith. Here. Representative Tackett Lafferty. Representative Thomas.
Present.
Representative Upchurch.
Here.
Co-Chair Blanton. Chairman Higdon.
Here. We do have a quorum. And with that said, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Motion.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Getting down to business, our first presenters today, we'll talk about the road fund. Mike Hancock, Deputy Secretary, Sean McKierman, Executive Director, Office of Budget and Fiscal Management, and Ron Rigney, the master of all things in transportation. So if y'all please come forward, introduce yourself for the record, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's our pleasure to be here today, and on behalf of the Transportation Cabinet. And first thing I want to do is just extend the regrets of Secretary Gray. You know, he loves being here. He loves being with this committee. So he is out and about the state today, and I am pinch hitting. So I am Mike Hancock, Deputy Secretary of Transportation here in Kentucky, and I'm
Mike,
here today.
if you will, please make sure the green light's glowing bright there, and pull that a little closer to you.
Pull it closer to me. There we go.
There you go. Much better.
The light was on, but it was not close enough. So there we go. But I am Mike Hancock, Deputy Secretary for Transportation here in Kentucky, and with me today I have Sean McKiernan, who is the Cabinet's Budget Director, and Ron Rigney, who's the Director of our Program Management function with the Cabinet, and a person I'm sure most of you know. So my role today basically is to do those introductions and then be here with Ron to help Sean if there are any questions that may come up about the road fund report. So with that, I'm just going to turn the program over to Sean, and he's going to walk you through the slides that he's prepared for you today. So, Sean.
My name's Sean McKiernan, for the record. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Executive Director of the Office of Budget and Fiscal Management, as Mike introduced me, and I'm here today to give a brief update on the road fund for fiscal year 24-25, which ended on June 30th. On this slide, we're looking at actual revenues compared to the enacted budgeted revenue estimates. You can see that the motor fuels revenue came in 3.5% below estimate, while motor vehicle usage performed almost 11% stronger than predicted. Other receipts were altogether just $400,000 short of the $308 million estimate. The bottom line is that road fund revenue was $38.5 million greater than the enacted estimate, and that's a 2.1% increase over the enacted estimate. When comparing FY25 road fund revenue with FY24's, you can see a decrease of about $11 million, and that's a drop of 0.6%. As you may remember, there was a drop in the motor fuels tax rate that went into effect at the beginning of FY25, which largely accounts for the change in motor fuels tax receipts. Motor vehicle usage tax increased 7.2% over fiscal year 24. And just as a reminder, last fiscal year, the motor fuels tax was 26.4 cents per gallon, and the year before that, it was 28.7. So that's a 2.3 cent difference. And then for the coming fiscal year, FY26, we're at 25 cents a gallon, so 1.4 cents less. I'm happy to report that there is a road fund surplus for FY25. The revenue excess is the biggest component of that surplus. We also had a reduction of planned spending in revenue sharing, and that's because the motor fuel tax revenue receipts were lower than forecast, and that added $12.8 million to the surplus, as you can see on this slide. Net spending coming in below budget added $8.3 million to the surplus, and then there were some closed capital projects that also added $2 million. The total for the road fund surplus account is $61.6 million. And as a reminder, the 24-26 budget bill requires that money in the road fund surplus account be appropriated to state construction. So this slide is just an excerpt from the budget bill that shows the direction to take that surplus and appropriate it to the highway construction program. And that is the extent of my presentation. Do we have any questions?
When you said brief, you were serious.
Yes, sir.
One thing I guess I want to point out, the motor fuels was down 7%. That drops down to the formula FIS. Part of that does. So that was a big hit to our cities and counties and rural and secondary roads, which we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. Am I correct in saying that?
That's correct. Yes.
Can you tell me a dollar amount that when I guess roughly 50% of the motor fuels goes to the formula FIS?
Correct.
Half of it goes to the cabinet or to the road fund. So can you tell me approximately a dollar amount? So
that's $12.8 million that we had planned for revenue sharing to distribute to the formula FIS. That didn't go out because the receipts were less than predicted. So that's the amount, that $12.8 million on this slide here.
And to give you some indication and maybe verify this, vehicle usage was up 7%. None of that goes to the formula FIS. It goes right to the road fund, correct?
That's correct.
So, and the money that this is very elementary, but you didn't go into it, so I'm going to dig it out of you. The formula that we're using now, that's what gave us a -7.
Correct.
And I guess actually it's dropped about 4 cents if you go back to the June the 30th of last year to July the 1st this year is about a 4% reduction, 4.1 cent reduction.
Yes, sir.
125 million, and that half of that did not make it to the formula FIS. The city and counties suffered there too, right?
That's correct.
And I think we're going. Commissioner Lewis is going to fill us in on that here shortly. So, but the reason, like I said, the formula did not help us at all there. I think we're collecting the same on our formula is generating the same amount of cents per gallon, 26 cents, as we did in 2011.
That's correct.
You'll get tired of hearing me say that, but I just want to emphasize why we're not blacktopping and repairing all the rural and secondary roads that we should. And the reason motor vehicle usage is up is that inflation has taken care of that. That's sales tax off of when you buy a new or used vehicle. That 6% sales tax goes to the road fund. That has grown over the years, where our formula is not growing our revenue for rural and secondary in cities and counties. You're shaking your head yes, Mike. Will you explain that?
Well, I think you did a nice job of explaining how that program works, and you're absolutely right. I mean, when the gas tax declines, then the amount of money that's available for both the road plan and revenue sharing declines accordingly. And so it is a situation over time where we are not able to provide the same level of funding for those parts of our budget as we would have previously. So.
Okay. Thank you. We have questions. Representative Lehman has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question along that. As you were discussing, there's the reduction. There has been reductions in the motor fuels tax. Is there, in addition to that, is fuel efficiency, the rise in electric vehicles, obviously not using as much gas? Is that also a factor, or is that a relatively minor factor? Do you have any division about that?
It certainly is a factor that cars being more fuel efficient reduces the amount of reliance on gasoline, which reduces the tax receipts that we receive. I don't have any numbers about how many dollars that translates to. I do know that we had a hybrid, I think for a year perhaps, we had a hybrid fee that was being collected. I believe it was $60 per vehicle per year. And my notes, this is before I was in this position, indicate that this past fiscal year that could have been $4 million in collections, but that fee was removed.
If I could also just add just a little bit, while we see that particular aspect of revenue collections, there's also this issue of CAFE standards, big picture, long term. As cars become more and more fuel efficient over time, or as they're projected to be so, then they have to fill up with gas less often, which means a direct impact at the pump. So that's also impacts our ability to fund our programs.
Yeah, miles driven is way up, not way up. Miles driven continues to increase every year, but usage stays the same because of fuel, additional fuel efficiency. So we're probably using the same number of gallons today as we did in that 2011. We're producing about the same amount of revenue today as we did in 2011. And on the electric vehicle, the user fee on that, we have a user fee on electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids.
Correct.
Regular hybrid vehicles, we did exclude regular hybrids. Question about tolls collected at the Louisville bridges, can you give us an update on how those collections went this past year, and if that's up or down, and how our payments on our bonds are? I know that payment was due, I think, here pretty quick. Could you give us some kind of, you off the top of your head know anything about that?
I know that we paid the bill that was due. We are in the midst of processing that payment. I don't have the numbers in front of me about the tolling, but I can get those to you.
Yeah, there's always next month. We'll get that next month, and we really we're going to invite. I know Chairman Douglas is going to invite them to our transportation, the Budget Review Subcommittee on Transportation. We've invited them several years. They've yet to make it in, so hopefully we can get them in this year and ask them some questions, because we do. I think many of us get calls about those guys, and we'd like to see face to face with them. If you could help us arrange that, I know Chairman Douglas is working on that. And yet, I don't. Go ahead,
Mr. Chairman, if I could, with regard to tolling for the Louisville bridges, the good news is that the revenues that are generated are covering all of the bills and all the commitments, and so that's an important thing. One of the things that we've been really focused on and trying to get our toll services provider to do more efficiently is take care of our customers. And we hear a lot of the same complaints, and we're very determined to respond effectively in that regard. So we're working hard every day to improve that situation.
Well, and that's important. I guess the most important part is we had enough money to cover our payment.
Sir.
But the second thing would be customer service, and I guess the third most important thing, are they collecting all the money they should be collecting, or how efficient are they in collecting of the proper, let's call it a user fee. Tolls are a bad word in Kentucky, and so we'll call it that. Seeing no further questions. Okay. Representative Everett.
Thank you. I just ate a jelly bean. I apologize. Thank
Did you bring enough for the rest of us?
I did. I've got plenty to pass around,
Okay.
Chairman.
All right. We'll just pass them around.
Please wash your hands. Thank you. Jelly beans. This is no surprise to anybody. I've had these for 6 years. Thank you. I really appreciate it, Deputy Secretary Hancock. This is always very helpful, I think, for you all letting us know what the updates that you provide. One question I would have is, it just seems like a lot of the projects are being they're being slow rolled. The money's there. We put more money in the transport. We took money from the general fund to put towards the transportation plan, or the transportation fund. Why are projects being so slow to be rolled out? That's just been a complaint we've got. I know we talk about the Litchfield bypass a lot, and that's finally made some headway, but it took a long time. And so could you give us any update of why it's taken so long for projects to, even though the money's there, they're in the transportation plan and have been probably for several cycles. What's the deal on that?
Well, Representative Haver, we're working very hard to deliver every project we possibly can, and it's one of the things that we've done, and this has been purposeful, but the general funds that have come through the high growth counties category, we have really focused on making sure we get those projects out, and we've got a lot of work behind the scenes that's going on to deliver those projects in full this biennium, as much of that as we can, certainly. And then the other projects, we have a tremendous load of projects in the highway plan. We've had conversations about funding and about how much funding there is and how we can stretch those across as many projects as we can. So we're doing our best to deliver as much as we can, as quickly as we can. In terms of the actual delivery, we're working hard. I know our district folks and our consultants, our engineers that are helping us prepare plans and buy right of way and relocate utilities and do all the things that are necessary to actually build and construct a highway project. There's so much work that's going on, and that's not always readily obvious. It's like the duck paddling on top of the water. You don't see the feet churning underneath. And we've got a lot of that going on, and I'm very proud. I know the Secretary has spoken many times about his pride for the folks that are actually out there every day helping us deliver the program. So we're doing our best. It's far from perfect, but it's project delivery is an inexact science, but we work hard at it.
Quickly comment with follow-up.
Please.
Thank you. And I can't brag enough on District 4. Bradley Bottoms does a fantastic job, and Kevin Blaine and all of them are very responsive. I kind of felt like maybe it was more of an issue at the state level, or at the maybe at the state office than it was a district level. But I appreciate their response on that. And I do want to take a second. I see Commissioner Bobby Joe back there, and I know we were able. We're trying to figure out the sidewalk that has been funded in Clarkson since 2019, I think, and so we're just now getting it. And so I really appreciate her communication with me on that and getting that done. So thank you.
Thank you. Senator Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I thank you all and your people for how hard they're working. My question is simply, because this is what I'm getting in my district, is the delays caused by acquiring the land. Could you give us an idea of sort of what percentage of the slowdown issue that might be? Because I know in my district that's a significant issue.
Thank you, Senator Doug. Anytime we have a right-of-way purchase, it's always a difficult process because we have obviously we're anxious to acquire the property to help move the project along, but the person that's being affected has rights as well, and they quite often exercise those, and as they do, and as we work together to try to resolve those issues, sometimes that just takes longer than we would like. But at the end of the day, we're abiding by all the rules governing right-of-way acquisition, and they are many. In many cases, we have courts involved and other areas to help settle out some of these things. So it feels sometimes like a slog, but it's an important effort and something that we have to do appropriately and wisely. So, from a standpoint of overall program development, at any given time for all the projects that are scheduled for construction, there's an accompanying layer of right-of-way acquisition that has to happen. And sometimes when you hear about projects moving quickly, it's because the right-of-way phase moved quickly, or the utility relocation phase, which is another aspect of our process that can be slow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Donworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kind of a follow-up on Representative Hovern's question about the delays in transportation. Secretary Gray presented a few months ago about the disaster recovery. Are those separate groups that are responding to natural disasters that are impacting our transportation, our highways? Does that have an impact? And if so, how do we work around that?
For the most part, they're separate groups. Occasionally you'll have a design firm that's helping us look at bridges that have been affected by disasters, or you'll have some overlap here and there. But by and large, you're looking at our maintenance function, which is working to help resolve any funding issues we may have there, or development or delivery issues with disaster relief. And then on the other side, we have a whole staff of folks who help us deliver projects. So they're largely two separate things with the occasional overlap where they help each other out.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Back several years ago, when I first started doing the road plan, there was this Secretary Hancock guy I used to deal with. But the goal then was $1 billion a year out the door in contracts. Do you know yet the year 25 has ended? Can you tell us how much went out the door? What contract? What the dollar amount was for that year?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, we typically will look at the award of projects, the total award for the year, on a calendar year basis. And so typically January through December, we'll award the last couple of years. It's been over $1 billion. It's been $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion, in that range. I'm pleased to say that we're just through the July letting this year. So we're a little over halfway through the calendar year, and we're already just shy. I think we have $998 million awarded so far this year. If you include some of our progressive design build work that that also is producing projects out there. So we're in for a great year, and it looks like we're going to exceed last year's total. I'm always reluctant to set some kind of bar out there, but we're on a great course.
Well, you were part of that bar that was set back years ago with the $1 billion. I'd like to see us 1.5, really 1.75 would be a good point. And a lot of the members, we have a lot of new members. Could you explain the cash management system? And we track that every month. We're happy to see that that's back first several months of the year, probably had over $500 million in the bank, and it's down some considerably now. But would you explain cash management, please?
Wow, that's a tough one. I was asked to do that a few years ago, and somebody gave me 5 minutes to do it, and I just said, last time I only got 3 minutes. So, it's a tough one, and I have to go all the way back to the year 2000 to really describe why we do what we do, and I'll do this briefly. But back prior to the year 2000, we set money up for projects all at once. In other words, if we had a construction phase that cost $1 million, we set aside $1 million, and that $1 million just sat in the bank until it was spent. And over time, we built up quite a nice bank account, just waiting for projects to spin down. The 2000 General Assembly decided that was not an appropriate way to do business, and they wanted us to better manage our cash. And so they put us in a mode of looking at setting aside or authorizing those funds, but then projecting out over time how those funds would spend down and organizing our authorization of projects and our cash balance accordingly, so that we could constantly be projecting ahead and making sure that we didn't run out of funding at some point. Back in the late, I don't know, it was 2009 or so, or no, it may have been, I think it was even 2004, I'm trying to remember, but we had an addendum to that said our cash balance could not fall below $100 million at any point in time, or we would have to bring or utilize our cash management plan. And so we have a cash management plan for what to do if the cash balance goes below $100 million. And so all of those things have factored over the years. We've watched cash balances rise and fall. It's very typical for our cash balance to grow in the winter months when contractors are not out working as delivering those bigger projects, and then watch the cash balance fall in the summer months when the contractors are working and the bills are coming in. And we also have some big bond payments and those kinds of things that we make in August, September, that time frame. So cash balance ebbs and flows. We've been tracking this ever since 2000. We've got a graph that shows how that's ebbed and flowed, and there were some balances built up that are being worked down as we speak. And I think today's balance was 166 million. So we're down in a range where we're not nervous, but we're watching it closely. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Well, that we know you're getting projects out the door when your balance drops down.
Yes,
Representative Hoxton.
Yeah, following on some of these questions, last time was my first road budget, and I came to the unhappy discovery of something called oversubscription, where we actually subscribe more road projects than we can possibly get done. And my understanding is the ratio used to be something like 5 or 6 to 1, and now it's 3 to 1. Can you explain that concept and how that impacts?
Sure. This is not something that is a recent phenomenon. This has gone on for several years, but it's a concept where, as a highway plan comes together, quite often it's difficult to package everything that everyone wants, both we and legislators and others, to package that in a fiscally balanced highway plan. And so for years we've been producing the highway plan and pointing out as we've produced it that rather than dropping projects out of the plan, we are continuing to produce the plan, trying to effectively balance the federal funds as much as we possibly can. In fact, Ron can tell you the statewide transportation improvement program that's required by the Federal Highway Administration says that we must balance the federal program. So we have that part of the highway plan that generally is balanced. On the state side of the ledger, we have state highway funds that are, I think in this biennium, we're over-programmed quite a bit. I don't remember the number, Ron. I don't know if you...
16. We get about 10 million. Had about 10 million. We're 23 million.
20 billion. Yeah, from the state perspective, the numbers. What Ron is talking about, the highway plan when we produced it, has about $9.8 billion worth of money, real money in it, federal and state funds. We had a total at the end of the enacted plan process of, I think it was right at $22 billion of projects in that plan. So it doesn't take long to realize that we've got more projects in the plan than we have dollars to deliver them. And so the question is, how do we effectively go about and deliver as much as we can out of that program? And that's, we sat down the day after the enacted plan was solid and began to work through that process, and we've been trying to stretch dollars every day since, and doing the best we can with it.
Okay. The you mentioned the word bonds earlier, and we have several types of bonds. Can you give us a status? Is that amount reducing? I guess we're getting those paid off. How do we stand bond wise?
I'm not really prepared to talk about the bonds today. I'm sorry, but we have